Hey everyone, we're back, and in the previous videos we've built all of our cards that could possibly be used. If you did use a standard deck of cards, you just procedurally generated those. If you used a unique set of cards, you had to brute force that and kind of just do each one by one, set all the attack, defense, name, description, and attribute values individually. What we're going to do next is we're going to shuffle a deck of cards. Now this is something that as a beginner programmer I was interested in, and I could never find something valuable to use. I was always missing a small detail. That was the problem. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. In our start function, we generate procedurally a deck of cards, a standard deck of cards. We're going to go ahead and put this shuffle function down there at the bottom. Now we haven't created it yet, but we'll go ahead and do that right under the start. So I'm going to go ahead and create a public. I'm making everything public just to avoid permissions issues. Public void shuffle. I think it's permissions. I'm going to have to double check that vocabulary now. But public void shuffle, and this is a modifier. And inside the shuffle function, I want to basically take whatever's in the deck and then move things around so that now they're in a random place. So in most card games, the deck will be somewhere between 20 and 60 cards. So we want to make sure that when we shuffle, we could at least switch around the placements of 20 to 60 cards. At least 60 cards, I guess. We're going to start with two random numbers. So we're going to go int. The first random number is number of replacements, so we can call this replacements, equals. And since we're using system up here at the top, don't forget about that. That will make random.range not work. If I do random.range, it's going to give me some issues that'll say, which random.range. Random is an ambiguous reference between Unity Engine random and system random. So what I want to do is I want to go to Unity Engine .random.range, because otherwise it gets confused. Okay, because system also has a random call. So when you do random.range for an integer, you want to put the lowest number and then one more than the highest number. So let's say I want it to be 1,000. Now in this case, it's possible to get 0. 0 is not ideal, because then you would not have any shuffling going on and you'd have the exact same deck. It would be very predictable. Even if you want to leave the chance to have the same possible starting formation, you wouldn't want to use 0. It would be better to use an even number where you could switch and then switch back potentially to get the same deck that you started with, because it's very unlikely to have the deck fully in order. Although it is possible, it's very unlikely. So what would be better is let's make that 100. 100 is an even number. It's a possible outcome for this random.range, which means we could replace 100 sets of cards. Up to 1,000. Computer can do that very fast. It's totally not going to take more than a 100th of a second. It's a fast thing, fast process. We're going to create a second integer. Oh, not URI, integer, and this one will be index. So this index will tell us what placement within the decks are we looking at. So this again will be a random number. UnityEngine.random.range. You know what? Let's not even call this index. Let's call this A. Random.range, and then 0 to 52 if you're using a standard deck of cards. If you're using any other deck, you start at 0 and then you end at the maximum number of items in that deck. Okay, not one less, not one more, but the actual maximum number of items in the deck. We will need an int b, which will be the same thing as int a, except it'll generate a different random number, so that's convenient. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create our card class. Okay, so we'll go card A, lowercase, equals, and we want to fill that in. So we've created a deck variable, and the deck is an array of cards. And if we feed in the index A, then it should populate that value. And then we can do the same thing with card B, deck B. Okay, so these integers that we just generated, we're going to use those as indices in the deck array so that we can create two new cards. What we're going to do is we're going to switch A and B. Now, let's say we just took A and then say A equals B and then B equals A. That won't work because it happens sequentially in the computer. We just did like A equals B and then B equals A, and then we could go like dec A equals A, and then dec B equals B. We can't do that. The reason is, as soon as we say A equals B, now A and B have the same value, and then when you go back to say B equals A, they're going to be the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and save this and then just show you kind of what happens. We'll go into Unity. Remember, we did call the shuffle function right here in the start. So when we hit play, what you'll see is in the deck, everything is still in order. At least it's, this first card is off. We got a 10 of clubs. What? Everything else, though, is in order. Oh, I think I know what happened. I just happened to pick a 0 as my first random number, and it switched it with the 10 of clubs. And then everything else should be fine. So now we actually have 2 10s of clubs. Let me try and find the 10 of clubs right over here. We have 2 10s of clubs, so that's bad. We don't want to have 2 of the same card. Problem is, as soon as we switch that card, then it's no good. So this process is not going to work. Things are going to go wrong. What we need to do instead is, oh, you know what else I did? Even though I generated that number of replacements, I never actually replaced a card 1,000 times or 100 times or any number in between. I didn't create a for loop. So 2 mistakes. We're going to fix those right now. First thing is we need a card C equals new card. So the card C is going to be a placeholder. Now, if you generate a new card, you're going to have an extra step. So we're actually going to cut that step out. We're just going to say card C equals dec A. We're going to save ourselves some time. Oops, I accidentally hit insert. Dec A. And instead of saying A equals B, B equals A, all that, we're going to say A equals B, B equals C, because C is still A. C is the old value for A. So now A is going to be the new value for B, or A is the old value for B, and then B is the old value for A, and then we'll just reset the values. What this will do is it will now switch the 2 cards properly, and everything's going to work. We want to make a loop as well. So all of this stuff, this needs to happen every time, right? Pick a new A, pick a new B, switch the positions, reassign them. So let's write a loop for int I equals 0. I is less than, and we created that random number between 100 and 1,000 replacements. Put a replacements there, and then I++. We'll enclose that in the for loop, and now we have a deck of cards that will shuffle itself. Somehow in the process, I just lost that other brace. I don't know why. All right, there we go. So this will be a deck of cards that shuffles itself. Let's try it out. Verify everything's working. We're going to hit play. Everything should be in a random position, but there should be no repeats. Now, if you don't believe me on this one, start with a smaller deck of cards where it would be very easy to check, but I'm telling you, you will not see a single duplicate in the deck. Every card is in a new place, and no card has been used more than once. It's totally random. Just check the value in the suit. Good luck. I hope this helps, and you can use it for a unique deck of cards. It's just shuffling. We're not changing the suit, we're not changing the value, we're not changing the attack, defense, or description. We're simply taking the cards that we've already created and replacing them. I'll see you guys next time. Like and subscribe, and good luck with your card game.